Playoffs? Playoffs?
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to another great episode of Locked On A's. I'm your host, Wayne Coy, noted athletics supporter for an entire lifetime and media dude. And I'm joined today by our co-host for this episode, and that would be the product of my loins, my eldest. I got. How many kids do I have? I got 6.
Why that sounds so gross?
It totally does sound gross. This is the eldest son. It's Ian Coy, who's in Iowa, and I'm in Las Vegas. And Ian, it's nice to have you along.
Hey, good to be here.
Well, we're going to talk A's like we always do, but I got to tell you first that today's episode is brought to us by Jace Medical. You can empower yourself when you purchase a Jace case. Provide with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics to treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jacemedical.com. That's Jase medical.com. Okay, playoffs. We're kind of kidding around there with our Jim Mora impression, but seriously, for the A's, it's like that's exactly how you would say it. Playoffs?
Yeah, we're not sniffing the playoffs. This is the best action we get is following it on TV right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
So you want to get us up to date where we are? I know we're division series. We have one team that's done, that's wrapped it up, and that's the Rangers, right?
Yeah, man. It'd be great to have that lineup, right? I mean, I was looking at a thing earlier about just how they've constructed their roster, and it's trade, free agent, trade, free agent. Like, so they have a front office. The front office is actually trying to put a quality product on the field, which is alien to us as A's fans. So
actually, we've put, I think, a great product on the field for every other team in the playoffs.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. What is it?
All right,
it's like half of a 26-man roster, isn't it? Like it's like 13 or 15 or something.
No, we counted 21, I think, the last time we counted. Crazy.
So embarrassing.
Yeah, Marcus Semien and the Rangers sweep the Orioles 3-0, and now in the American League, the other series. Why are we waiting till Friday to get back to that?
Yeah, I don't understand this because, like, when the A's make the playoffs, which obviously has been a couple of years now, but man, did they not have they took every opportunity to screw with us with our home field advantage and our travel. We lost home field advantage famously in 2012 to save a travel day for the newly instituted wild card game or whatever they were, putting in, which now is progressed and it is a thing. We're all used to it, but we lost home field advantage when we earned it. We were the higher seed in 2012. Lost our home field advantage. Yeah. And then, Jared Parker had drastic home and away splits. I mean, it was a full 2.5 run differential, what he was giving up at home versus away. And of course, we have to start him off game 1 on the road, and he gets beat up, and we lost the first 2 games, 1-2 at home, and then had to go game 5 on the road when we should have been at home. So it was ridiculous. But now it seems like these accommodations are being made for the other teams.
Jared's on our Twitter page. So hey, Jared, good to see you, brother.
What up, Jared?
All right. So Astros lead the Twins 2-1. They don't play again until Friday. Dodgers, Diamondbacks. That's 2-0 Arizona. Didn't see that coming, did you? They pick it back up again tomorrow in Arizona. Remember, those 2 games that the Snakes got, they got on the road. So now they're going home. All they got to do is win 1 game, and it does not look good if you're a Dodger fan.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I think that Arizona had a good farm system, and you knew they were going to be good in a couple of years, but they're definitely at least a year early this year, and I definitely didn't think they'd be taking down the Dodgers. So
right. And then you got the Braves and the Phillies, and it's all knotted at 1. and they play again tomorrow. Now, you had an interesting statistic revolving around the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, they were the first team to not lose a series all season to then lose or get swept. I think it was to get swept in the playoff. The second team ever to do that. The last team that did that was Tony Gwynn's San Diego Padres in 1998, and they went to the World Series before they got swept.
And who were they managed by? Bruce Bochy.
Yeah, I didn't think about that till just now.
Same guy that's doing the sweeping now. See?
Yeah, man. What hire, you know?
Yeah.
Both
that was a great hire. Great hire for the Rangers. So Orioles never swept all season. They get to the postseason, the brooms come out, and Bruce Bochy was there for both of those, the last one and this one. So here's what everybody's talking about. You got Atlanta with 104 wins, Baltimore with 101, the Dodgers at an even 100, Tampa Bay at 99, and Milwaukee at 92. So those are the 5 winningest teams in Major League Baseball. And those 5 teams in the 2023 postseason are a collective 1-10.
Yeah, all you need is a chip and a seat, right, Mr. Las Vegas? I mean, get to the playoffs, anything can happen.
Well, here's the thing. The only win, they're 1-10, and that one win was by a team that had been no hit for 5 innings and then only won their game, with a walk-off crazy 8-5-3 double play with Austin Riley just showing up in the right place at the right time. I mean, that was a great play, but that's it. That's the only win out of all these supposedly dominant great teams. So what everybody's talking about is, well, yeah, you added an extra wild card team, and now there's a round of playoffs that require us to just sit and get cold, because we had the better record. So we're sitting there waiting, and while you're waiting, I mean, in a regular baseball season, not even during the All-Star break, do you get that many days off. You don't get 5-6 days off, right?
No, not at all. That's actually a really, really good point. I always kind of looked at it like rest at the end of the season, especially in baseball when the seasons are as long as they are. I always looked at rest being a good thing, but this might be kind of throwing salt in that whole thing. Like, is it? I mean, is there any advantage to that other than getting your rotation set up?
Well, if you'd asked me last week when I was handicapping the playoffs, I said I thought that it would really serve the Dodgers well to get a couple extra days of rest, but I didn't expect. I mean, let's just face it. Clayton Kershaw is a different pitcher in October. His lifetime record in the postseason does not stand up to that guy who's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. It just doesn't. But I never expected him to be that bad. But I think he's hurt. I really do. I think there's a shoulder issue. So, man, it doesn't look good for the Dodgers. And I mean, that's a team that is traditionally has been a pitching team, right? And now we're like, who's going to save the day here? I mean, they're going to have to step it up. And, we're going to talk a little bit about the Dodgers as it relates to the A's coming up in just a bit. But the other thing that caught my attention, besides the fact that all the winning teams are losing, is Bob Costas, who has up to now been, I thought anyway, a national treasure, is basically getting reamed on social media. They're saying he's boring. Do you find Bob Costas boring? Is he boring?
I mean, I think he's been boring for a couple of decades, and people are just kind of catching on now. But he's been Mr. Olympics. I mean, I don't even know what does he do outside of the Olympics. Like, I guess he calls playoff baseball games that not well, apparently. But
right, so they're giving him they're giving him a lot of criticism over his lack of enthusiasm. They said the difference in energy between Brian Anderson's final call of that double play and Costas's call, it said one of them sounded like it was being done in the hospital.
Yeah. How do you not get crazy for that? I saw that on a clip later, and I was probably more animated than that, dude.
Well, hit the Twitter here. What a lame call from Bob Costas. he sounds so despondent and annoyed. At least pretend. Wow. Why is Bob Costas dissing the Diamondbacks every chance he gets? Costas, don't hurt yourself with all that enthusiasm. All I can say is somewhere Joe Buck is going, yes. Right? Because, I mean, he's usually the guy. Yeah. So, unfortunately, it's Bob Costas so far this postseason. Okay, so what we want to talk about is relocation. Will they or won't they as it relates to our beloved Oakland Athletics? And we're going to get into that, but everybody should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected, and it does happen. And Jace Medical knows that, so they've come up with this really cool thing. It's called the Jace Case, and what you get is you get 5 antibiotics that are designed specifically for whatever it is that's going on with you. And they do this through, of course, telemedicine, which is something that, pre-COVID, we didn't really even know what that is. But I got to tell you, I can't remember the last time I've actually been to a doctor. They've learned now how to be able to take care of you, whether it's on the phone or over a Zoom or, on the Locked On A's podcast. So you want to get that peace of mind. You want to know that, if you have to, you've got access to medication. And Jace Medical makes sure that you get that. They do that entire online evaluation. Then, of course, the doctors get with you and you get a prescription that's delivered right to your home that's been basically designed for you and what you're dealing with. So hopefully the goal is that within a couple of days, you're feeling like your old self again. Don't get caught unprepared. Check them out today. Jace Medical, that's JASE medical.com. Make sure you check them out and tell them Locked On A's sent you too. Okay, so speaking of the A's, Mr. Ian, I've never asked you this question. I'm going to ask you dead to rights right now. Move or don't move? You're a fan of Vegas or you're not?
Wow. You just put me on the spot. I feel like it's become untenable in Oakland through no fault of their own, having come from wow. That's so tough. If it were just my call one way or the other, I would have built a new stadium a long time ago. And maybe if one of these postseason runs that we went on had ended in a World Series, then we would have already had our stadium. So part of that is just not getting it done, right? I mean, if we're really being self-reflective here and being honest with ourselves. 2012.
We're being honest.
The 2012, 2012, 2020 season, even though COVID got in the way, I mean, that was the team that was supposed to win the World Series. We all knew that they went into that series against Houston, having won 7 of 10 games that year.
Yep.
We weren't scared of them, but we lost to them. Even as late as 2020, if that had resulted in a World Series, there's just the imperative to get it done, to keep them there. Mm-hmm. It's the lack of postseason success over the last 2.5 decades that has really led to this point. That's
a really interesting theory. When you lay it out like that, that really does make sense. I hadn't even thought about that, but you're right. That probably kept us from getting there quicker. I think because you see what happens is when the team's winning, the community gets behind it. Then they're like, oh, well, we gotta, right?
Right. Yeah. And when especially when they're, it's a little different now since they had this last teardown, which I think was maybe the most dramatic of all of the teardowns.
It was.
This was to the studs, right? Yeah. There was nothing left. And so it was a little different. It kind of became major league in real life. And it's the same goal. They're trying to move the team. And I really think at the end of the day that it's probably going to happen. Oakland deserves better, which is why we've all been saying so for the last, however many years it's been. Even if they didn't build a new stadium, if they'd won a World Series, let's say in 2012, that same team we were just talking about, maybe with the Raiders coming up and a few years later and then moving out, like maybe 2019 when they announced, or 2018, whatever year it was, they announced they're moving to Las Vegas. maybe they just tear down Mount Davis. Maybe they put $500 million into redoing the Coliseum on, just using what you have there. I mean, I was
Well,
looking
yeah,
at
but
pictures.
Howard Terminal was already well in the works though by that time, 2019.
Yeah, I mean, does anybody really believe that that was ever going to happen? Like, I don't. I don't believe it's like Santa Claus to me. Like Howard Terminal, wherever. Oh, it has to be on the waterfront, but now we're gonna move to the desert. Like, okay. I mean, I don't buy. It's all leverage, leverage, leverage. So I don't know. I think they're
Casey
gonna
Pratt.
move.
Casey Pratt is on line one for you, Ian. You want to grab that?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he believed Howard Terminal was real. I mean, he was there for every single second of what was going on there, and says we're
Right.
this close, that
Right.
close.
Just
But
laugh it up.
likely going to have to shrink down, not do the ballpark village, not maybe you do get your offices and your hotels and your motels and all of that stuff, but you get it later. Let's just build the ballpark first, right?
Right.
That's Casey's point, which I agree with. I think at Fisher's, delusions of grandeur, I think we're just too big, and COVID made it harder to get money. I mean, that's true. But now
Yeah.
Oakland's come up with every bit of cash they were supposed to come up with for infrastructure.
Exactly. That's how
And
it was all just leverage. It's all leverage to get the best deal that they can.
Mhm.
That's how I look at it. I
Right,
never
but
look at it as
how
serious.
is it the best? How is it the best deal you can when that whole thing was about real estate and about having all of this stuff that you own, and now what we're left with is you're going to be renting.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because the Tropicana still owns all of that land, and they're still going to build hotels and casinos and
Sure.
whatever else they're going to do on the rest of the 31 acres or whatever
Right.
that's left on that property. Yeah.
So the 9 acres we get,
Right.
that's not John Fisher's dream as it was laid out. I remember Dave Cavill saying specifically first I remember where they said the Coliseum was their only option. And then all of a sudden that was like Siberia.
It's not an option.
It's not an option at all, even though we own half of it and we better buy it just in case. But
Yeah.
it was all about, we've got to be on the water like the Giants.
Right. Right. We
It's
need
our
a
only-
freaking gondola to get to the stadium.
Yeah.
Like it's a freaking ski lift to get to the baseball. Like, who's doing this?
I would have liked to have done it once just to say I did it.
Yeah, I mean, cool. Like, yeah, you take your selfie, do it for the gram. But like, other than that, like, what are we doing here?
Flying over 880 in a gondola. Okay, so the vote is supposedly coming up, and talking about how that's going to go. It's interesting that two very famous Las Vegans. It is vegans, by the way, not vegans.
Okay? Not Las Vegans, because
no, it's different.
No, never mind. I'm not going to touch that.
Two very famous Las Vegans, Bryce Harper and Jimmy Kimmel. Probably like the two most famous Las Vegans there are now, right? I mean, Wayne Newton's still here, I guess.
Wayne Newton, props. Yeah. He's family, actually. Odd sidebar. He's family, not to me, but to my ex-wife and my son.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Donka Shane for saying this. I want to say that to Bryce Harper because he said he doesn't want the Oakland A's to come to Las Vegas. He doesn't think they should. He said Oakland is where the A's belong, and Vegas should get an expansion team. Bryce Harper, who is balling right now. I mean, I understand he got thrown out, but listen, you know what? He almost was safe getting back. And did you see he was practically to third base on that play?
Yeah, and he slipped, turning around, coming back. But yeah, he was 4 or 5 steps off a second. And he even said when he went back to the locker room, as a consummate professional that Bryce Harper is,
he fell on his sword.
He didn't say that's a clown question, bro. He said that I probably should have waited at second base, which is what I said watching the clip. I hadn't seen what you said afterwards, but yeah.
I give him credit though for being the baller that he is.
Oh, for sure.
I got to tell you, at the beginning of his career, I wasn't a fan. I thought he was cocky and But
I always loved Harper.
Well, he says the A's should stay in Oakland. Jimmy Kimmel, who's a lifetime Dodger fan, said he agrees with a lot of people that Vegas is Dodger country because you've got first of all, you got years and years and years of AAA baseball for the Dodgers here. Then you've got, that's the closest metropolitan area to Las Vegas.
Right.
I heard Brody Brazil put it this way, and I agreed with him that LA is to Vegas Vegas is to LA what Tahoe is to people who live in the Bay Area. It's where we go to get away on the weekend, right? So with it being that close and being there for so long and having as many people from Southern California move to Vegas kind of makes sense. They don't care about the A's. Jimmy Kimmel said that. He goes, why would I care about the A's? I was raised a Dodger fan by a Dodger fan in a city that loves the Dodgers. So there you go.
Is it like that though? Like,
yes.
I don't know because I don't live in Vegas. I mean, I have here and there a couple of times for like a month at a time. But like, is it really like that? Like, because I don't see Dodger jerseys everywhere in Las Vegas.
Do you know that Las Vegas is the only city, other than I think it's Honolulu, that's got a Dodger dugout store in its city limits? You go to
That makes sense.
You go to the fashion, whatever it's called, Fashion Center Mall.
Yeah.
Is that right? Fashion. What? Wow. Why can't I remember the name of the mall? I think it's Fashion Center. Anyway, they've got a dedicated store that sells nothing but Dodger stuff.
That would make sense. I mean, the quick trips to Vegas from LA are a thing. Like, of course.
They're a thing. Right. So you're going to be a Dodger fan, you're going to be a Dodger fan, not an Angels fan, for the same reason that if you're from the Bay Area, it's predominantly Giants fans, because they had a 10-year head start. They just did. And the Dodgers were there first by like 7 years before the Angels showed up.
It's a little further away, obviously, than that. I don't know, man. I don't know for sports affiliations if it matters. Like I lived in Northern Virginia right after the Nationals moved there. And they obviously didn't have the greatest start. They weren't a very good team coming from Montreal. They didn't exactly build the team up in advance of moving there. So it was really like you're moving into Orioles country. And they signed an absolute horrible media deal when they first moved there because they had to give everything to Baltimore.
Right.
And there's definitely distinct Washington and Baltimore fan bases there. Like they'll rally around it when they're your team. It's just like when you have a market that wants a team and they finally get their team, it doesn't matter where they come from.
Well, I would let me counterpoint what you just said, though, because I think there's a lot of difference. The Montreal Expos were owned by Major League Baseball. Okay. They were in a bad situation. This is the last team to be relocated. They moved to a city that has had Major League Baseball. The Senators played there for years. So it's not like this is the first time Washington had a baseball team. They had a stadium that they could fly right into. There was no 4 or 5 years while you wait for the stadium to get built. They went right to RFK. Now, granted,
they played at the Oakland Coliseum.
What's that?
Basically, they said they basically played at the Oakland Coliseum.
Yeah, kind of. They basically did. But you're missing the point that I'm trying to make, which is unlike this situation where the Athletics become the Las Vegas Athletics. Those were the Montreal Expos. That team went away. You now have a new team called, right? And so the Nationals are not the Expos. And that's Bryce Harper's point. Give us our own. We've proven to you what we'll do with our Vegas Golden Knights. Their whole slogan is Vegas born. So here you got, like I said, two high-profile guys, Jimmy Kimmel and Bryce Harper, who have both, very loudly said they think it's a horrible idea and the A's should stay in Oakland. So with that in mind, we're at these meetings. It's December or whenever they're going to have them, November. And we're in Arlington, Texas. And you're the lobbyist for the Keep the A's in Oakland coalition. Okay. Your job is to get 7 of these owners. Is it 7 or 8? 25%. What is that? 7?
25% of.
You were on the math team, Ian. Let's go. Come on. You can do this.
25% of 30, right?
Yeah. So what is that?
So I guess, well, it'd be 8, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's closer to.
Screwing with my math brain though, because it's not 25,
Sorry.
it's 26 and some percent, but 7 would be less than what? Yeah. So we're there.
Okay. So there's talk that all of the teams in Southern California, so Dodgers, Angels, Padres, Diamondbacks, who currently Las Vegas is part of their market. All four of them.
Yeah. Oh, it's everybody else's market. It's not Las
And,
Vegas' market.
right. And if the A's were to come here, it doesn't just become the A's market. It becomes a 5th team to split that pie. Okay.
I guess.
Also, if you're the Dodgers owner, do you want the San Francisco Giants to basically have everything from San Francisco to Seattle to themselves? Or do you want to be able to compete as a California team?
Do they now?
Well, what I'm saying is that you've got the A's and the Giants sharing the market.
No,
So
I'm saying, are the A's a factor in that now?
Not as much, but they have a big TV deal. I mean, they do. In fact, they got a TV deal that I think if they could get out of it, the network would be like, please, help us. Right. Which is we've talked about this before, but it's another reason why you might think if they've got to wait for a few years that the A's would maybe lean towards renegotiating with Oakland, just because the minute they do move away, the minute they become the Sacramento A's or the Salt Lake City A's or whatever it's going to be for that in-between period, their TV deal goes away in the Bay Area. So now the Bay Area, all that TV money is going to the Giants. I'm the owner of the Dodgers. That's my rival. I don't want them having that much more money than I have so they can outspend me to get better players and on to the break of dawn. So I think that just kind of hypothetically, I think there's 4 or 5 teams that are already on the bubble. I know the Yankees want no part of that revenue sharing anymore. They think it's unfair. Sure. They think John Fisher's gamed the system. Hal Steinbrenner has publicly said he thinks this is wrong. And the Red Sox, I think, are in that boat as well. So if you've got the richer teams, the Cubs, the Red Sox, the Yankees, and then you got those 4 or 5 teams that are on the West Coast that are now all of a sudden having to share their market. And, oh, by the way, you're not getting a relocation fee. Remember? Yeah. But you could get an expansion fee, and that money gets split amongst the owners. So I'm just throwing these out. I don't want to be the lobbyist. I want you to be the lobbyist. So I'm the owner of the White Sox. Okay. Tell me, because I've talked about moving myself, and I'm thinking maybe if you guys do it, I can just wait and follow your lead, or the Royals, or who's the other guy on the committee? Milwaukee. But let's say I'm the owner of the White Sox, and I'm kind of on the fence. I'm on the fence. Can you convince me to vote to keep them in Oakland?
This is a very, very, very hard thing for me to do, because I just pointed I just said all of that in my previous, point, is that I have a hard time justifying trying to keep them there with the situation as it is. As an opposing team's owner, it's almost more to that original point that I made. It's like, I don't even know how you make a case to keep them in Oakland. Like, how do you lobby that? You're running out of
56 years tradition.
Yes, I know.
It's not that they're lacking in fan support. The fans are flipping off the current ownership, right?
Yeah. No, you run out of ground to stand on, especially when you're looking for allies in that, because, like, if I'm an owner and I'm thinking about 10, 15 years down the road, what if I want to relocate? Do I want to set the precedent that I'm going to be the one that stood in the way of this team moving when they wanted to move? Like, no, they want to be able to do the same thing if they need to, hold another city hostage. That's what they, that's what they want. So no, it's really difficult. I mean, like, we all know why they should stay in Oakland. The fan support's not the problem. We prove that over and over again. Prove that every time they put a quality product on the field and we go to the playoffs. and we have the biggest freaking stadium on earth for baseball, and we fill it, or very, very close to filling it. So and it's not fan support. It's like put something out there that is even acceptable to watch. And I think the very, very tragic situation that we are going to run into is going to be that the relocation thing's going to happen, right? They're going to approve this to happen. And they're going to know that they're moving into a new stadium in 2028, 2029, a new city, and they want to have a competitive team when they get there. So they are going to build a freaking juggernaut in Oakland that we are going to have to watch maybe win a World Series and then leave. And that
you got me. You got me. Okay, so
hard to watch.
If we were going to run, the crawl underneath you right now, where it says Ian Coy at Ouija Music, by the way, the crawl would say, forget about it. They're moving, because you're pretty much of the mind that they are.
I don't think there's any way that unless there is like the Grinch moment where John Fisher's heart grows 3 times the normal size and he sells the team to somebody who gives a damn.
Yeah.
That's really the only situation. Like, he's going to abuse the current system to make as much money as possible. And I have a sneaking suspicion that he might do the same thing in Las Vegas.
You think?
Yeah.
He'll sell the team as soon as it moves to Las Vegas. You watch.
Quite possible. But what if you don't invest that $150 million that you should be investing in payroll, and you still keep a crap product on the team or on the field? Excuse me.
Yeah.
You're just keeping all that extra money that's coming in. You're just living off the people flying in to watch their favorite team play the A's.
Okay, we're going to have to take a break, and we have A-Story that we got to get into for today, this date in A-Story. But before we do that, I just want to say, I don't know, can you see me now? Am I looking at you right there? Good. You see that guy that's co-hosting the show with me today? That's my son, who I was able to brainwash and mold to my heart's content to become this passionate A's fan that you see right now. And you can't see him because he's asleep in the other room. But Ian's son, Rain, is Generation 3, and he's also an A's fan. That right there is the reason Rob Manfred. That right there is the reason John Fisher. That right there is the reason Dave Cavill, why this team should be staying in Oakland, and the idea of them moving to any place is absolutely ridiculous. You're messing with an heirloom. This isn't just a business. This is a family thing now, and it has been for over 50 years. So for that reason, that passion that you hear, it's there, and somebody else should own it and treasure it and take care of it and build it and feed it and nurture it, because you sure as hell don't.
Right. That's why you have to have an ownership group that has a connection to the franchise and a connection to the area. I mean, that's why Magic Johnson owns everything in LA.
Thank you.
You just have to. It has to be that way. This is sports. This isn't the Gap.
Yep. Couldn't have said that better myself. All right. So A-Story, we'll get to that. And of course, we want to thank you for making us your first listen every day. Of course, Locked On A's, we're bringing that passion. We're talking about your favorite team, and we certainly want to hear back from you. So comment section down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're just a regular podcast person, thank you for that as well. And don't forget, you can get us at Locked On A's on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. But I'd love to hear from you. Your feedback is great. October baseball, we've talked about it for the whole show here. It's back. It's back in a big way. And our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, want you to know that you can join FanDuel today. And check this out. You're going to get $200 in bonus bets for a $5 bet. Okay? $5. That's it. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Create your new account, and then you get in on that action from the first pitch all the way until the final out. And you can bet on everything from strikeouts to home runs to who's going to win the game. I know it's kind of boring. If you don't want to, maybe get your W from the whole game, you can actually predict what's going to happen in the very next at bat. They call those quick bets, and they're available as well. So head on over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and step up to the plate. Don't forget, you get that great deal, $200 in bonus bets for a $5 bet, and that's guaranteed. So make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Well, this date in A's history, all the way back to October 10th, you might remember 1990. Ian, I think you do.
I was 5.
The A's swept the Red Sox to win the American League pennant for the third year in a row. They won it in 88, 89, and 1990. And the cool thing is it was Dave Stewart against Roger Clemens, which anytime you saw that was going to be the pitching matchup, if you're an A's fan, you're like licking your chops, because as dominant as Clemens was, guys, one of the best pitchers you'll ever see in your lifetime. I mean, he's in the conversation.
Sure.
We had his number 8 straight. This win that we got on this date in 1990 in the playoffs, that was the 8th straight meeting between Clemens and Stewart that was won by Dave Stewart. That's what I'm talking about.
Owned him.
Yeah, we did. And you know what happened in that game, which was so great? Roger Clemens absolutely went epileptic. He lost his mind because he didn't like a call that was made by Terry Cooney, and he got thrown out in the second inning. So
must have been all the roids, man.
It was something. I mean, at that point, you were just like, okay, this is our game, and we're going to go to the World Series, which we did. Actually, physically did. I went to the World Series and watched the A's get spanked by the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, but, I think the team went. Somebody went to the World Series. It sure wasn't the A's.
Yeah. So for my buddy Jeff Carr, who has our sister show Locked On Reds. Okay, Jeff, you won that one.
Yeah,
but
we didn't show up for that one.
You know what you didn't win was 1972, and we're going to talk about that particular year in just a second. But let's go back even further. A's history, this date in 1931, another three-peat right there to be had. The A's win the World Series in 29. They win it in 1930, and the Philadelphia A's go to win it in 1931. Well, they were trailing in the game 4-2. They had 2 men on, 2 out in the ninth. And I guess he was sort of their version, or baseball's version, of Raleigh Fingers or Dennis Eckersley back then. Bill Hallahan, there's a name for you, comes on and gets the final out, and the Philly A's lose to the Cardinals, and unfortunately were not able to three-peat like those 72, 384 A's or those 88, 89, 90 A's. They didn't do it. Well, actually, you can't even count that later team because they didn't win the World Series, only 1 out of 3.
Now, would the A's have been the first team to three-peat then, or did they have the Yankees already?
I think by 31, I think they might have.
Did they? Because I know the A's and Yankees are the only 2.
I know all you ever hear about is the 27 Yankees, right? The 27 Yankees.
True. Yeah.
All right, so happy birthday. See how we did that? To Oakland Athletics Hall of Famer, Gene Tennis, whose birthday is today, 77 years young. And this guy, what a career, because if you really do break it down, was he the best catcher to ever play for the Oakland A's? No. He wasn't.
Right.
He wasn't Terry Steinbach.
Like, don't make me make that point.
He wasn't Dave Duncan. He wasn't Ramon Hernandez. He wasn't Ray Fosse, right? But he was a serviceable catcher. Was he the greatest first baseman that ever played for the A's? No.
Nope.
Matt Olson might want to talk to you for a minute. Mark McGuire. How about Jason Giambi?
Jimmy Fox.
Yeah, right. I'm just talking about Oakland.
Yeah, right.
So Gene Tennis was not our greatest first baseman ever. He might be in the conversation, top 6, 7. He might be in the conversation as far as catchers go, top 5, 6. Jason Kendall, line 3, picked that up. But you know what he was? He was the first guy who you could truly say was Mr. Clutch. And I mean, I'm going to go there because he hadn't earned the nickname yet. He was the original Mr. October.
Facts.
And you're like, what? Well, in 1972, don't forget Reggie, who was the star of the team. I mean, let's just call it what it is, was being Reggie and trying to score a run, a very important run, that put them ahead against the Tigers in the playoffs. In doing so, blew out a hammy and ended up spending the World Series on crutches. But they wouldn't have got there without him and that play at the plate. So you got to say Reggie did everything that your superstar should do to get you there. But wow, if the A's weren't already underdogs against the big red machine at that point, now that they're missing their big star, forget about it, right? Well, Gene Tennis says, I understand that's what it says on paper, but even though I only hit 5 home runs the entire year, I'm about to go off and hit 4 in one World Series and tie a record set by Babe Ruth. Okay? And Yogi Berra,
Reggie,
I think.
Reggie,
right. Right. Well, I mean, we eventually found out Reggie who, but at that moment in time when you know you truly needed somebody to be the guy, Gene Tennis stepped up. And he stepped up catching, he stepped up playing first base, he stepped up hitting in the clutch, and even in the playoffs, he drove in the run that ended up being the clinching run in the American League Championship Series. And it was so funny because, like I said, the guy hit 5 home runs in 72. Well, from that point forward, for about the next 5 years, he hit 24 home runs the very next year, then 26, then 29, then 22. So he's a double-digit home run guy. Yeah. He was, more importantly than any of that, he was, before there was a Kevin Youkilis, he was the Italian god of walks. Okay.
Nice.
Fury Gene Tennis from Steubenville, Ohio, with 101 walks in 1973, 110 to lead the league in 1974, 106 in 1975, and then he fell back to earth a little bit with 81. But that's 398, almost 400 walks in 4 seasons. That's on base. This guy knew how to get on base. Now, he didn't hit for average, but he got on base, and he seemed to always get the big hit when you needed it the most. So, for all those reasons, he's an Oakland A's Hall of Famer and absolutely deserves it. So, Gene Tennis, we love you. You're 77. All Happy you guys birthday. You're getting too old, because when my team, my original A's are all pushing 80, whoa. We gotta pump the brakes a little bit, because what does that mean about me? It means I'm getting older. So, and you too, Mr. Ian.
Yeah.
Well, man, this is going to be fun watching the rest of these playoffs. I can't even begin to tell you what I think is going to happen, because I don't know. But it seems to me that the teams with the momentum now should be able to maintain that. I don't see any of these series all of a sudden flipping and going the other way. Do you?
I don't at all. The one I'm really, really interested in, and I think that maybe the World Series winner, is the National League Series against or between Atlanta and Philly. That's the one I'm really looking at. Like, I think both of those teams are just so complete. I mean, Atlanta might be the best roster in the league from top to bottom, and they have pitching for days. It's like, how do you beat them? I don't know. I don't know how you can beat them in a series, but if Philly does it, watch out.
The Dodgers, I think it's a pitching issue. I don't think I know. Well, actually, Mookie needs to step up. Where's Freddie Freeman? Where, those guys are all, we talked about, they have 5 guys that are triple digits in home runs, or double digits in home runs. Triple. Yeah, that'd be great. But you got five guys, I think 4 with over 30. And then who has 29? That might be Freddie Freeman. No, he had more than that. Somebody had 29. No. So, I mean, they came close to having that many people hit that many home runs. Just unreal. So I thought they were sort of the team to go, but they're not getting that patented Dodger pitching. So I have 0 predictions. I already made my picks.
At one
the
point,
Orioles, they're gone.
Starting pitchers, dude. Like the Dodgers, I think had 9 or 10 starting pitchers that were like major league caliber. Like a year ago. Like, what happened?
Yeah, what happened? Well, Urias, we know what happened with him, right? So,
yeah,
I don't know if he's ever going to play again. But Trevor Bauer's like, okay, I proved myself. Can I come back?
Right.
Unfortunately, no.
Keep waiting.
All right. Yeah, keep on waiting and keep on coming around, because we do appreciate you being a part of what we do here at Locked On A's. It's your team every day, part of the Locked On Network. Don't forget to like us. It's good to be liked, but it actually does help the show, because it spreads to get it to other people that maybe didn't even know we were out there. So do that. Make sure you give us a like, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe. All of that's important. There's a reason why we say it, and I know it's kind of cliche, like and subscribe, but we really do appreciate that. Your comments, of course, down in the comment section. And if you want to hit us up on Twitter, you can do that, Locked On A's. Ian, it was fun having you here. You promise you're going to come back?
Yes, sir. Will do. And I'll be grounded if I don't. So,
I was just going to say, you need to go clean your room, son. Thanks for being here. I'm Wayne Coy. Till next time, keep on swinging.